Hello and welcome to episode 20 of the Slow Crafting Podcast. My name's Nadine and I'm coming to you today from the northwest of England near Manchester. Apologies about the shonky lighting. I promise I'm not as blue looking as the light we currently have you believe. Yes, this is a bi-weekly podcast looking at knitting, spinning, sewing and crochet and a whole host of other fibre goodness, and trying to incorporate a slow living and slow fashion agenda into increasing my handmade wardrobe. Thank you for joining me. You can find me on the internet on Ravelry as Crafting18 or through my blog, which is the many knits of nading.wordpress.com, but I'll put that information at the end. Okay. Right, today's episode is going to be a bit different from normal because I'm going to be giving a bit of a roundup as to what I've achieved over the last year and how well I stuck to my goals for 2017. And then at the end, give me a bit of an overview as to what my coming plans are for 2018. Right, last year when I set out, I was thinking about what I wanted to achieve and recorded the first podcast. I said that I wanted to increase my handmade wardrobe and incorporate a slow living and slow fashion agenda into that. Now, I appreciate that slow living and slow fashion mean many different things to many different people, but for me it was about slowing down the rate at which I consumed fashion, particularly fast fashion, making and mending my own clothes, supporting small businesses and buying locally produced wool more often, using stash that I'd accumulated, because we all know, those of us that knit, and indeed so, we probably, most of us, have a stash that exceeds our life expectancy. I'm not going to be alone in having more wool than I could possibly knit in my lifetime, and my final goal was ignoring fast fashion trends and working on clothes and whether they've been knitting or sewing to suit my body shape and my needs, basically, rather than going with what was popular and what was current. Okay. Now, in terms of slowing down the rate at which I consumed fast fashion, I've done quite well on this. During 2017, I didn't buy any clothes whatsoever, not a single one. So I was really pleased with that. Unfortunately, I can't say no commercially produced new clothes came into my wardrobe, because my other half did buy me some clothes. Not that I asked for them; they were gifts for birthdays and for Christmas. I think he bought me a couple of t-shirts from the children, a nightie, a shirt that doesn't actually fit my current body size. Bless him, he thinks I'm a size smaller than I am, which is always nice, but doesn't make for the best fitting clothes. A shirt, some knickers, and a pair of trousers. That's quite a lot. That's more than I would, it's more than I wanted, because I didn't want to have any new clothes in my wardrobe, but I can't be ungrateful because they were gifts. Although I do feel slightly better because the pair of trousers that he bought me did have a fault with them. There were some linen trousers from Sainsbury's, I think, actually, and one leg was considerably wider than the other. So, just a fault with the manufacturing and production, but I did have to adjust them. It's probably a trend this year of Mark buying me ill-fitting clothes. Although this one was because there was a fault. So I got my sewing machine out and measured the width of the skinny leg and adjusted the width of the wide leg so that they both matched. and they were elasticated at the bottom for some bizarre reason, so I took that off as well and just hemmed them so that they had a slightly more flattering finish around the ankle. So I didn't feel quite so bad about those, because yes, he did buy them, but I fixed them so they were usable. If he'd have taken them back to the shop because they had a fault with them, they would have ended up in landfill, because you wouldn't have been able to resell them with one skinny leg and one fat leg. So I feel okay about that. The other clothes I'm a bit less comfortable about, so I think my goal for this year is probably try and encourage him to buy me fabric rather than finished garments. But it was very nice of him to buy me presents, so I can't complain too much. Right, making and mending my own clothes. Yes, I've done quite well with this actually, because not just mending my clothes. I think the big mend this year has been on children's clothes. They wear a lot of jersey items, whether it be t-shirts or leggings or what have you, and they do tend to, with the washing and wearing, end up with little holes in them. So rather than throwing them away or putting them in a scrap bag pile when they do, I've been patching them, or if it's on trousers and leggings and shorts, I've been patching them and making a visible mend on them. And for t-shirts, instead of doing a patch, I've sewn up the holes and then put some sequins or some beads on the front to try and sort of disguise where the mend was. So that's been quite successful, and the girls have really loved it. They wouldn't particularly have minded of having holes in the clothes, and just sit there and pick at them and make them bigger, but they've not complained about having the patches. In fact, they really like them because they've been really jazzy and made the clothes a little bit more exciting. In terms of mending my own clothes, I think, well, obviously the pair of trousers that my other half bought me, I mended or adjusted those, and then there was a pair of corduroys that I mended where the belt loop had pulled away and caused a rip on the back, so I did some visible mending on there. Downed my first pair of socks, so that was nice. I'm wearing those today actually. They're still holding up well and really comfortable. And in terms of making my own clothes, yeah, I've made quite a few things actually. I've not done as much sewing as I wanted to, but life tends to get in the way of plans, so things have come up that I hadn't intended to make, and I've ended up making them, and the things that I did want to make sort of bobbled further down the list. I'm trying to think what I have sewn during this year. I know I sewed the Alabama Channing swing skirt for my mum early on in the year. I made 2 of the Dottie Angel tops for myself in May. I made 2 pairs of pyjamas for my children just before Christmas, and a Dottie Angel tunic for my oldest daughter for her birthday. No, it might not have been a birthday. Might have just been early, sort of midpoint of the year. Knitwear. Oh, I've finished the tunic that I'd had on the go for 10 years. Finished that. Quite a bit actually, more than I thought to begin with. And in terms of knitting, finished the satin cardigan with the inserted Fair Isle. Finished a hand spun jumper with a polo neck and 3/4 sleeves, the green one. Finished that. Knitted an enchanted mesa from hand spun for myself. Yeah, so three jumpers and quite good going. Yeah, I'm not too shabby with that. So yes, I think I've done quite well on that score as well. I have been a bit sort of scatty on it, sort of a bit here, a bit there, nothing really coordinated or planned, which I'll come back to when I go touch on my plans for next year. Supporting small businesses and buying locally produced wool more often. Yes. In terms of the wool that I've bought this year, the majority of it has been from my local yarn store, and it's their in-house yarn. I did have a bit of a splurge on wool round about my birthday, so July time, but that was because I'd been given money specifically to buy wool for my birthday, so I did get quite a lot though. And I've bought other bits of wool during the year, but they have been sort of mass produced commercial wool for the main part. I haven't bought a lot of it, but I bought sort of the oddball here and there, and it's been for making presents for other people, because the people that I was making presents for aren't knitters and aren't used to caring for real wool. So I've tried to buy wool rather than acrylic, but the wool that I have bought has been superwash when it's been for gifting for other people. Although I did get some West Yorkshire spinners wool, which I know is commercially produced rather than an independent maker, but I would class that as a different category to something like Sirdar or King Cole or one of the other bigger manufacturers. And that was lovely wool actually, the West Yorkshire Spinners Jacob Aaron Waite. It's very nice wool. So yeah, used in stash that I've accumulated. Yes, not quite so brilliant on this one. I have used a lot of stash yarn, but then I've also bought more wool, which I didn't necessarily want to do. I've done quite well in terms of using stash fabric. I think most of the things I've made this year are with fabric that I've had from the year before, or if not longer. There was only one pair of pyjamas that I made for my youngest daughter that were made with fabric that I bought this year. So it was quite good. It was quite good. I have bought some more fabric this year. Got some blue floral fabrics that I plan on using to make something at some point. But they've been cottons, and then I bought some absolutely beautiful chambray from Merchant and Mills to make a shirt for my other half, which I'm excited about, but also terrified by at the same time, because I've never made a shirt, and it's beautiful fabric, and it's not for me, and it's for someone that's quite fussy. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, in terms of using stash wool, like I say, I've only bought a couple of bits for gifts. I've used a lot more of my hand spun this year, because obviously I've made 2 hand spun jumpers, and I'm currently working on a pair of hand spun socks, so that was a good use of stash. Yeah, the jumper, the cardigan that I made myself at the beginning of the year, that was out of stash as well. Yeah, so and then I made 2 blankets using sock yarn scraps that obviously were stash for my daughters for Christmas. Yeah, looking back, I think I've probably done alright on using stash. It's just that I've accumulated quite a bit more from the local yarn shop, which is probably why I'm thinking that at first glance it didn't look as good as it perhaps was. Right, final point was going beyond fast fashion trends and seasons. Yes, I think I have, because I've knitted what I wanted to knit and sewn what I wanted to sew, rather than going for what was particularly current or all the rage. I mean, what I've made isn't all the rage in sort of the wider community, and some of the things I made are popular in the knitting and sewing communities, but they're not the must-have item at the moment, and they do work with my wardrobe and my needs. So yeah, I think I've done quite well. I mean, I might tweak what my original plan was for my wardrobe for next year, but well, sorry, not next year, it is 2018 now, 2018, because I think last year my plan was to make sweaters, tunics and trousers for wearing. I think I'm going to tweak that slightly, but I'll get onto that in a minute, because that doesn't necessarily work with exactly what I'd planned, and I'm finding that I want a slightly different look for this year and going forward. Right, so I think that's waffly enough about how I did compared to my goals and resolutions for last year. For this year, 2018, my word for the year, because last year my word was slow, this year I think my word's going to be focus, because as I said, last year I was a bit scatty, a bit all over the place with my makes and what I was doing, and it wasn't necessarily planned and considered, nothing particularly coordinated in terms of colour schemes with what I was making and when I was making it. So this year I think my main goal, in keeping with that sort of theme of focus, is that I'm going to try and create 4 outfits for the year. Now the outfits will comprise of a knitted top, so that sweater, cardigan or vest, a dress which can either be worn as a tunic or as a dress over tights, or bare legs if I'm feeling brave, but probably not, hand knit socks and some kind of hand knit cowl or shawl. There might be some times when I add another element in, but there might not, and I think in my head I've got the basic outlines of the 4 outfits planned. So I'm going to try and colour coordinate the outfits, so that they can be worn as an outfit, but they will also be, knowing my colour themes, they will sort of go with other elements in my wardrobe as well. Now I'm thinking the first one, because I've already started elements of it, I'm hoping to have finished by the end of this month, which might be pushing it a bit. But for the other 3 outfits, because they will be starting from scratch and be slightly more involved, I plan to take about 3 months at a time to create the outfits. It might be that I manage to get them done quicker, or it might be that they take longer, depending on what it is. But with that in mind, because the podcasts will stay roughly every 2 weeks, I might not talk about the outfits every single episode, because I think talking about the same outfits for 6 episodes on the trot might get a little bit much, so I might try and throw in a couple of book reviews here and there just to break it up. Okay, so the first outfit that I'm going to be making this month, the dress that I want to make is this one here, View A, which is another Dotty Angel pattern, and it's the Simplicity 8230. So quite quite Japanese in style, because it's more of an apron, so it looks quite straightforward there, but this is also view A, so it's got wide bits that you can tie around the front, so almost as a wrap over, and it hides the pockets, and also hides anything I've spilt down the front of my dress, which will be quite good. And it will mean that the fitting and sizing on it might be a little bit easier to, a little bit more forgiving. So we'll see how I get on with that. Right, and the fabric I was planning to use for that is out of stash, and it's, oh, I can't really tell, it's a sort of a chocolate brown, and then for the main body, and then this brown and blue and cream paisley for the pockets. This brown fabric is actually an old sheet, which is in my stash. So it's a big piece of material, it's cotton, well actually it's probably polycotton given that it's a sheet, but as my first attempt at that pattern, I don't mind that it's made out of that. So we'll see how I get on with that and see how it goes. It should look nice. I think I do need another piece of contrasting fabric for a trim at the top of the pockets, but I haven't decided on that yet. It might be one of the, I might use one of the blue floral fabrics or cream floral fabric that I've got just to do that little trim. We'll see. I'll work out which looks best next to it. So that's the dress, or in this case apron. I'm not quite sure if the side seams are open on this or not, so it might not be suitable for wearing just over tights. It might have to go over trousers. But I wanted to make this for quite a while, so I'm very happy with that. Handspun socks to go with it. Now, these were my Christmas Eve cast on. The handspun texel that I showed you last year, and then I dyed it with some Wilton's food colouring, so a speckled eye effect on it. These, oh, I don't know where is it, there you go. I did just some Hermione's Everyday socks, that's what the pattern is. But yes, so that's the first one I got done. So I think they're going to be bulletproof though. Oh look, I'm almost the right colour again. Just had to stick a blue sock near it. So yes, I think they're going to be bulletproof because I did them on 2.5mm needles, and I think realistically this wool is probably a sport weight rather than a fingering. So they do stand up on their own, but that's good. It means, because there's no nylon on here, so hopefully it'll give them a bit of longevity, and they're only 2-ply as well. Like all my other hand spun socks are 3-plies. I was trying to see if it would go back to a normal colour again, but it won't. So yes, so I've got one done, and I've just cast on for the second, and it's because I've already done one of the socks that I'm hoping that I might have time to get all this done by the end of the month, because the dress is relatively simple, so it's pretty much some side seams, some straps, and a bit of bias binding. Right, the knitted top that I want to do is the button box pattern from Knitty Spring and Summer 2013. Okay, so it's a waistcoat. You can't really see the texture on this. It's sort of got knitted squares basically, a textured pattern on the body, and a little shawl collar on it. The wool that I'm using is stash, but it's not 100% wool. It's some that my mother-in-law gave me. I don't know if she'd found it at a car boot or something. But it's James C. Brett Ripple Wool Rich Double Knitting. So it's 52% wool, 55% wool, 42% acrylic and 3% polyamide. You're not getting a brilliant colour. It's brown, it's blue, brown and creamy white running through it. So this is what it knits up like. That's a better view of what the pattern is on the sweatshirt, because I've swatched. I've already swatched for something, so we're doing well. I'm not sure what I'm going to have to do size wise yet though, because the pattern's written for an Aran weight, worsted weight yarn, and this is a DK. Now I did try it with a recommended needle size, which is the 4.5, but it looks a bit loose. I do prefer it on the 4mm. It's a US 6, I think. Now I've got to check what my gauge is. I'm hoping that after blocking my gauge will meet the required gauge, because I'm sometimes a little bit of a loose knitter. I sometimes have to go down a size, not always though. If I'm not, if my gauge is a bit on the small side, rather than using the 4.5mm, because it does look a bit loose, I prefer the fabric on the 4mm, I might have to knit a bigger size than I would normally to fit my body, to take account of the smaller gauge. But we shall see. So that's the knitted top. The scarf or cowl or shawl is pretty basic for this one. I'm just going to do an elongated triangle garter stitch in the same, this looks black, it's not, it's very 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 dark brown. It's the same wool that I used for my satin cardigan at the beginning of last year, so I think it's a locally produced and spun Hebridean yarn, I think. It's quite a loosely plied 2-ply. It's a very fine fingering weight. So yes, that's going to be the main body, just garter stitch body, and then I'm going to do a feather and fan or old shale, depending on my stitch count when I get to a size that I like. I'm going to do a feather and fan border in these colours plus a blue, but I can't find where I've put the blue at the moment. So these are just scraps from my stash. This is Woolly Knits yarn, which is my local yard store, and it's their superwash merino 4-ply in a sort of an oatmeal colour. This is some sock yarn scraps for a pair of socks I knitted for my other half, and this is some stash that is 100% wool, but it's vintage. My friend's mum gave me it. I don't know how long she'd had it in a stash, but yeah, sort of a colour of hot chocolate. Yeah, so I think together with the blue they'll look really nice, and they will coordinate with everything else that I'm making for this month. And if I get time, I would like to finish Maya's Mama Lookers as well, which I've talked about in the last couple of episodes. I've not worked on these much over Christmas, so we'll see how much I get done. But that's in Oricania Ranco wool. I can't remember the colourway. It's 4-ply, and the Maya's Mama Lookers pattern, it's some woolly knickers really. So I thought, given that the dress is sort of a lightweight cotton, having some woolly knickers underneath might keep my bum a bit warmer. but this depends on whether I need to wear them over trousers or whether I can get away with wearing them over tights. Okay, I think that's everything. I'll talk to you another time about what I plan to make for the next outfit. I'll probably save each outfit for the beginning of the sort of quarter that I start making it, because I don't want to be talking about something and then you're not seeing it for months on end. I think that's it. Yeah, hopefully you've all had a nice end to 2017 and a lovely start to 2018. I'd be really interested to hear actually if any of you have got plans for increasing your handmade wardrobe over this year. Please feel free to put something in the comments below, or contact me via the blog. Yes, I've not set up a Ravelry group for this podcast yet, which I don't know. I'm thinking about doing this year because I'd like it to feel a bit more interactive than it does at the moment. So I encourage you to get in touch, make a comment. Let me know if you think a Ravelry group would be a good idea. Obviously I don't want to set one up if I'm going to be sat there by myself. the only person interested. But yes, let me know if you think it would be a good idea, and I'll sort out setting one up. Because if you don't necessarily want to talk to me every time, though, you might want to talk to other people who are interested in slow fashion and slow crafting as well, and I'd like to be able to host a space for you to do that. Right then, I think that's it. Just like to say Happy New Year, and I hope 2018 is kind to you. Alright then, thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.